Hey everyone. So we are on day 3 and we're reflecting on the last year of our practice. It's funny, I had all of these outlined and, points I wanted to make, things I wanted to say. And here we are, the night of the 22nd, the day before this one airs. And I realize that what I was going to say isn't really what needs to be said. I have to start with a story. So, grab something to drink, snuggle up. I don't know how long this is going to be. But to understand this past year, I have to explain how we got here in the first place. And that's because this last year wasn't a transformation. It's not a growing movement. It was a transmutation. And there's a big difference between the two, especially when we talk from a spiritual, magical, soul standpoint. So I spent about the first 9-10 years of my life in my mother's religion. She was Irish Catholic, very devout. I went to Catholic school, all this, and I was lucky because I was really young. I was about 9 or 10 years old when I started seeing and having doubts about the faith. And it wasn't aspects that were in it, it was the people. What I was seeing in the community and the people versus what they claimed to believe. And it wasn't everything, but it was enough. It was enough to make me question and wonder. And so I spent the next 20 years of my life exploring all different kinds of religions and cultures, people, anthropology, movement of people, blending of people, religions, traditions, all of these things. I studied the sciences because I think science and magic and spirituality are all different pieces of the same puzzle, each one giving us something a little different. I don't see them at odds with each other. And so I learned and I absorbed information and knowledge, and I experimented and I connected and talked with people here and there. But I grew up in a time before the internet, so, I didn't have what we have now as far as connection. It was people that I found local. It was, people in local shops and local covens and things of that nature. And then I spent 5 years more in the physical world. And it's strange because all the skills I was building in that time frame in the physical world, I was building my strength and I was building skills of understanding death because I was an ICU nurse that ended up being more death doula than ICU nurse. That's a deeper story. But I needed all of those experiences, those life experiences, those world experiences, the science experiences that I was able to participate in and get into. I learned a lot about neurology and sleep stages and dream and how the brain works, and from a electrical standpoint, and then just electrical within the body itself and all the different systems and the interconnections. I needed all these things for where I was going. then the last 10 years, one day I just decided I wanted a tarot deck. Had never dealt with tarot before. Most of my practice really was in energy elemental kind of work. And I didn't have a lot of tools like that in that way. It wasn't my mode. I dealt with soul, I dealt with spirits, I dealt with energy. And so I was like, well, that's kind of strange. So I looked up tarot decks and I got the Dreams of Gaia deck, which was the perfect deck for me. And I spent the next 10 years with Morrigan, because as soon as the tarot deck showed up, so did she. And it's funny because that first year with her was a transmutation period as well. It was going from all the knowledge I gained, everything that I had learned, and moving it into a space of taking that from knowledge to skills and wisdom, and really building strong skills out of it. But those 10 years was another deconstruction. I literally deconstructed, evaluated, and analyzed every single aspect of myself, of my perceptions. She taught me duality, and really the depths of duality and what that means and how each sides interact. She taught me about elements on a much deeper level than I had previously been taught by other people, and even what I could conclude in the way that I worked. I realized that everything I had done before was so surface level comparatively to what I was doing then. And it was the first time I was connecting with a guide, and I see deity as guides. They're there to show us things, to make us look at things, to take us deeper in lessons that we need to learn, to help us develop skills that we need to develop to do the work and the path that we're choosing to do. I also dove deep into the soul and the different parts and aspects of our soul, and really diving into the ancestral soul. That part of us that when we say the word legacy, the ancestral soul, is really what we're talking about with legacy. It is the soul that continuously goes through life, building, acquiring skills and knowledge and understandings and experience. It's all about experience and building skills and knowledge. And when we die, it is that part of the soul that is reborn again and again. It is that part that carries on. And it's that part that we're accessing in this life with our magic, with our spirituality. It is the ancestral soul we are touching. All these natural gifts and abilities, the things that come easily to us, the things that, make up our parts of our personality and the way that we move in this world, I truly believe come from ancestral soul. It's those memories they're carrying, and there's science to back this. And I've written about it numerous times in Pathos, and on my blog space, and on Facebook, and even here on my channel. There's aspects of ancestral soul. You'll find videos there. But again, that last 10 years was all about a complete new way of seeing and understanding and building all the skills and knowledge that I need an experience to move into this next phase. And it's weird because she told me before last winter solstice that she was leaving, that we were done. And you spend 10 years with a deity in the way that I did, and that deep connection, and I didn't get it, and I didn't understand, and I, twisted it in my mind to be something else. Because it's what we do. It's what we do when we're faced with loss. We try to bargain our way out in the beginning. We try to find, this can't be what we're looking at, but it is. And that's a whole other aspect too. But last winter solstice really was the start of this transmutation. And just like the very first one with her, this last one, it's been a year of ups and downs, trying to figure out what was going on, trying to understand all these components. And I went through moments of frustration and moments of, feeling disconnected at times. And it's the way that I go through it. I'm not saying everybody goes through it this way. But it really took me a little while to wrap my head around what was actually going on and what was actually happening. And it was the same way when she first came in. It was the first guide I had ever worked with. And so, that same confusion, what is this? What is this? And I kept thinking it was all these other things, especially in the beginning. And I realized that what was happening is a transmutation, a complete change. The puzzle I've been building my entire life is complete. All these things, all the skills, all the understandings, all the experiences, everything that has led me here, all the storms and tower moments, because do not doubt, our true learning comes in storms and towers. We hate to hear that. People don't want to hear it. They want to think it's something else. But that's where we have to face. It's where we build strength. It's where we are challenged and pushed and we really see what we're capable of. And true growth happens in the storm and tower. What happens in the stillness is the understanding of it, the reconciliation part of that. But it's not real growth. We did all the growth already in the storm. We're just reconciling, understanding, and incorporating it at that point when we're in stillness. Stillness and storms both need to happen because we need that time. And I think the first part of the year was super storm for me. And the second part, I understand what's happening now. It's, like I said, all this stuff I've been building, all this stuff I've been doing, my puzzle's done. All the pieces are there. The picture is really clear. And I know some people aren't going to understand that because it's not like I'm not going to keep growing, but I'm going to be doing it in a completely different way. I'm not going to be expanding out more. I'm not going to be gaining more from different places. I am on the path that I am on, and I have come to the center of my labyrinth. I have worked all this way, working my way inward, and sharing that with other people and mentoring other people while I did it. It's not like I didn't have community in these spaces, but it's different. And where I'm going now when it comes to community is very different. But I'm not growing outward anymore. I'm only going to grow deeper into what I already have built and have. my foundations are strong. They're good. That's what I got on the very first day when I was showing you how to do an outlook reading. And it's this blending of Hierophant and the Priestess. Pretty sure that was yesterday that was the outlook reading too, where I was talking about that blending of those two sides. They're two sides of one duality. I've been through the Priestess. That was all about finding my way, finding what really held true for me, what gave results, not just to me, but what are the skills and structures that really gave other people results. The people that I mentored, the people that I teach, what gave them true results? And, made it possible for them to communicate with spirit, experience spirit, get to these different points of being able to trance work and to spirit walk, and, to connect with themselves, to do their deconstructions, to build their foundations and boundaries. And all the while, these are skills and structures, but guiding them to do it in their way, where it's from them, because the way that I look at fire and the way that you look at fire may be very different. The way that I look at an animal and the way that you look at an animal and what they symbolize could be very, very different. Neither one of us is wrong. We're doing it our way, what our connections are, what our path is. We may be adjacent, we may be close, we may even be overlapping, but we are not the same, and that is a wonderful thing. It goes back to the truths. There are very, very few hard truths in this life. The one truth that I can see that is indisputable is everything that is living is born and it dies. That's the truth. Everything else really depends on our perspective and our understandings and our growth at that point and what our experience has been, and all of those shape what our reality is. And so that blending of the Priestess and the Hierophant is about structure, he is about tradition, he is about, skill based, but he is also storytelling, and he is also about sharing his own path and experiences. And that's what inspires others on theirs. It's marrying that understanding that boxes and structures serve a purpose. And they do, in the sense of, giving us a starting place, pointing us in a direction, and then it's for us to climb out of that box and dive deeper and experience and explore and see different perspectives, understand the duality that it's interacting within, understand the other energies and how they interact together or interact on each other. It's a lot. But that's, I think, the goal of spirituality. I think it's the goal of growth. I know the goal of my ancestral soul is experience and learning and growing and building skills and strengthening the self, because all of these things, when I die, are going to be passed on to the next body that this ancestral soul decides to inhabit. And they'll be in there in memory. I'll be one of those little voices of their intuition. I will be part of that inner knowing for them and trying to point them in the right directions. So when it comes to my personal growth, in that way, as far as expanding and gaining and gaining and gaining, I don't think I'm doing that anymore. I'll go deeper. I'll learn more depth of all of what I've already achieved. But my next step is really more about community than anything else. And beyond what I already do, and that already started this year. I wrote 3 books, and they're all based on the work that was already done. I had been writing these books for 35 years. So that's why it wasn't so hard to put them out. But I wrote 3 books to reach other people and to give inspiration and get them thinking about different perspectives and dualities and different ways to look at energy. I am teaching my course. I still mentor people. I'm still working within the temple, and I'm working with other crane practitioners. Those parts haven't changed, but it's expanding and it's more, and the focus isn't me anymore. Not in that way. My focus is community. And it's about thinking about those aspects of community. Thinking about, what does that mean to us? What does it look like? What can we achieve here? And I know I'm going to get more into this in the very last one when it talks about where we're going. But I think the community aspect is something that we say the word quite often, yet we really don't look at what that looks like in our current society, in our communities, in our witchy spaces, in our spiritual spaces. And I keep saying witchy, and even then, I feel that I'm at more of a spiritual space than a witchy space. Because I'm back in that energetic. It's not that I don't use spells and witchcraft, but it's a lot more from an energetic space. I've moved more and more into servitors to do the things that I need done versus constantly having to think about wards and shields and all that. I have servitors that do that work, and they're set and they do their job, and I don't have to focus in that area. My 2 gargoyle servitors that deal in my spirit work, because I'm a death worker. I heavily work in the spiritual world, and I'll be honest, I'm human. I make mistakes. If an energy feels bad to me or hostile or whatever, my immediate reaction is, oh no, you're not crossing this boundary. But one of the lessons that I learned is that there are times where, to me, that spirit is going to feel that way because there's a problem. They need help. And I immediately shut them down because I feel that they're going to be bad. And yet there are skills that I hold that I could help them if I'd understood and realized that's what it was that they were coming for. And so I entrust all that to my servitors. If a spirit gets past them, if a spirit gets past my gatekeepers, then there's something there that I need to do. There's some type of work. There's something that I can help with. I have the skills to do that. And that takes my own personal reservations about what feels quote unquote bad, and it leaves it to them. I know if they allow it through, then they know that I've possessed something that can help in this situation. And so, and it's like that with most of my servitors. They are set very well. I spend a lot of time making them. I'm very conscious when I do it. And I'm very specific about what my boundaries are in every area, so we're never really crossing. And it's worked really well. And it's something that if you work with spirits, especially from a death doula aspect, a death doula doesn't just deal in the physical death of a person. We deal in the physical death of the person. We deal in helping souls that need help either crossing or getting through the well or doing that blending aspects when it comes to, separating from the ancestral soul and the ancestral soul moving forward. These are all points that a soul can get stuck. And so, with that, these are all areas that we deal in as death doulas. And so, yeah, lost my train of thought a little bit there. I got distracted by an emotion. But yeah, it's just a really different space. And this year, when I go, obviously, when I go through a transmutation, because this has happened twice now in my lifetime, and both times it took about a year for me to really see, really understand, really grow into that new space, to see the puzzle for what it is and where I'm at in it and what I'm doing. Yeah, I'm not sure really what else I should be saying at this point. There's a lot of things, other things I'll cover when we get into, my reflection on death and rebirth. When we get to that prompt, I've got a lot to say. I'm a death worker. And then when we get to the very last, where I'm going, we'll dive even deeper into what I'm talking about. But this year really has been a year of movement internally in a transmutation, and then externally in the type of community work, the type of community building. I really want to just really embrace that community building aspect and wording, because I'm not creating it on my own. I'm building it with the other people that join me in the spaces. I've created the books, and I have been writing for Pathos this year, which has been a different type of community and building. I have been working with my death emissary people, and that is a whole other structure of community. And I'm in the middle of building the Sisters of the Well, which is a whole other different type of community. But it's really all these modes of community and building community together and building family and really thinking about what that means. It's not just people gathering. It's not just us giving each other pats on the backs and supporting each other. And these are things that we do as a community, but it's really about those connections and bonds we build together. And it kind of goes back to what I was saying yesterday about the whole aspect of numbers. Because I'm wanting conversation, I'm wanting connection, I'm wanting sharing, I'm wanting us to build communities differently, where it's really people are at the center of them and it's every person. And we may not believe the same, and we may not have the same views, And that's fine. We can hold respect for each other. We can hold respect that you can hold your view and I can hold my view. And both could be true. And no matter what, they're true for us. And that's really what we're respecting. We're respecting that we're being honest and we're sharing our experiences and we're sharing our thoughts and we're sharing where we are. And that's what today is, right? We're sharing where we are and what our experiences have been over the last year and how it has shaped us and moved us and what's bringing us into this next season. And I know I've heard people when I was listening to the winter solstice one, we all have different views there about what Yule or winter solstice means to us and what that time of year looks like in my work, in my personal wheel, in my personal understanding of the movement of stars and planets for me, and from my perspective, you know, the winter solstice is the last day of my dark. It is that movement through the well. It's that transformation or transmutation time from one cycle to a next. Excuse me. And the next day, so today, the 22nd, is a part of light. Even though we're in the deepest winter, we're not at the growing phase yet. This part of light, from now until the spring equinox, it's about the dream. It's about the hope of what can come next. It's all the possibilities, all there. And for us to be able to choose from and to think about, this is the dreaming period. For me, that's winter. Winter is to dream. It's the hope of what's to come next. And it's the possibilities that we can choose from. Endless possibilities. So yeah, this is just where I am. It's where I am tonight, it's where I am right now, and it's where I'm going. So for those that stuck around this long, thank you. I appreciate you listening to the whole thing. I know it is not what you expected, and who knows, maybe you don't even agree with me, and that's fine. I'm just sharing my own personal experience. But I'm excited. I'm excited for continuing to do these videos for the simple fact that I am engaging with some amazing new people that I have not met yet, that I am just starting to hear their voice, people that I've never seen, people that I've never heard. I love that it's a bunch of small creators that are really working on these 12 days. And I'm sharing you guys everywhere. And I'm telling people to go and look at the hashtag and look at the videos and listen to the different voices. Because we all have something to give. We all lead in some capacity. And we all are sharing in some capacity. And it's inspiring other people. Even if you don't see them. Even if they never speak a word to you, there are people out there that are listening and they're being inspired, and your experiences and your sharing is giving them strength, and it's giving them courage, and it's giving them ideas and new ways of, discovering their own path. It's a really beautiful thing. So good night, community, and I'll see you tomorrow.